October 10th is the World Mental Health Day, and for me personally, I actually like talking about mental health because I know if you're not okay up here, that means you cannot do anything. Like, you cannot function properly in the community, you cannot even eat, you cannot even speak to people, you cannot sleep, you cannot even go to work. Like, there's nothing you can do with your whole body if you're not okay up here. So that is why I usually say mental health is so important, although it's one of the things that are really ignored. And this year the theme is mental health in an unequal world. The world is so unequal and unfair. Like, those who are wealthy are becoming wealthier, and those who are poor are becoming more poor, or poorer, if that is the world. Like, the world is becoming more and more unequal. Like, we still have people who cannot access health services, and we still have people who don't even know about things like mental health. There are people who think that they're experiencing some things in their body and they think it is okay. Some people don't even have the knowledge about things like mental health, and that is why this year, like, I think the campaign was more focusing on reducing the gap that is for especially knowledge and access to healthcare. And let me give you a scenario so that you can give me an answer. Let's say today you are at home and maybe something happened to you and you just feel like you are a little bit depressed. Maybe you lost someone, maybe something like trauma happened to you. Just imagine something that makes you feel so depressed that you can't go to work. Just assume something like that has happened to you today. Would you call your boss to tell them that you are depressed and feeling suicidal, or would you call them to tell them that you have a headache or a stomachache and cannot make it to work? Like, what is the answer you could have given? I know most of you could have said, I'm not feeling okay, I'm feeling sick and I cannot make it to work today. I know a very little percentage of people can say I'm depressed. Like, people don't want to accept the fact that having a mental illness is, like, I want to say the word normal, but is okay. And it is okay to ask for help. People usually think like having a mental illness, no matter how small you personally think is, people usually think like it is a form of weakness. And that is especially for men. Like, I really think that a really small percentage of men can be able to sit down today and say, I really need someone to help me, I'm feeling depressed. Like, most people usually think that I'm a man, I can do these things on my own, like I don't need someone to help me. And for other people, like ladies, usually think that if I talk to someone, they'll go and start gossiping, and then they'll talk about me, and then I'll be all over the news, and like, there's no need for me to share my problems with anyone. Let me just keep my problems to myself, because sharing it out is a way of destroying me. And even leave alone sharing it with your friends, people can still accept the fact that we have people who are professionals in that field. We have psychologists, or just having your own therapist. Like, I don't know if in Kenya or most of our African countries we can get to a place whereby someone can say, they usually say, let me call my doctor. You can say, let me call my therapist. Like, I'm feeling stressed, let me call my therapist. Like, we should start normalizing such kind of things. Like, the way it usually feel like it is not okay for me to feel frequent headaches, it is also not okay for you to frequently be stressed. Yeah, people should take the way you should say, I feel like I'm stressed, like I have a headache, let me go and buy painkillers. I feel like I'm having frequent stomach aches, let me go and see my doctor. It is the same way you should take your mental health, the way you take your physical health. Like, I feel I'm stressed, let me go see my doctor. Like, I've just given birth, and maybe you are going through maybe postpartum depression, or you've been involved in an accident and maybe you still dream about it all the during the night. You should also take that as normal. The way you should call your doctor to tell them that you're having frequent stomach aches, you should call them and tell them about these frequent dreams that you're having. Like, I hope one day we will all just come to normalize that our mental health is also as important as our physical health. And the other thing that has affected our mental health this year and the previous year is that so many people have gone through a lot of stress, like losing a job and like losing loved ones. Like, there's been a lot of stress during between 2020 and 2021, and so like people's mental health have been really affected. And the other thing, because the COVID thing came and it is something that is physical, like a physical disease, we brought all our focus on the fact that we want to finish the COVID thing, and most of us forgot about our mental health. Like, not even us, even the government, the sector of health, like most people are just focusing on, let us eradicate this disease, let us find a vaccine, let us find a way of preventing the disease. But like we kind of forgot about our mental health, especially during this pandemic. And yet this is one of the times whereby like mental illness have increased more than any other time. And most people, they don't even have the idea that they are mentally ill. Like nowadays, especially during this year of 2020 and 2021, we're just seeing that all of us are going through something. It is the pandemic, we are all affected, we are all stressed. So we are taking it like if you have a mental issue, then it's normal because we are all suffering during this pandemic. Mental illness is not normal. Mental illness is something that you should ask for help. We are normalizing it because we are saying that we are all going through hard time during this pandemic, and this is making us normalize the fact that mental illness is just okay. It is not okay. We should be able to ask for help. And they usually say a certain survey that in every 4 people, 1 person has a mental illness. Like just look at where you are right now. Maybe you are at work. The 4 of you, where you are seated, 1 of you has a mental illness. Even if you are at home, the 4 of you, the way you are staying, 1 of you has a mental illness. That just shows that we have so many people who are mentally ill, but they don't have the idea that they're mentally ill. They're trying to ignore that fact. They're trying to believe that they're okay. They're trying to think that it's just normal. It's just something that we're going through, and you're going to like be over it. Yeah. Now let me give you some few examples of mental disorders, but I'll make sure I make a whole video, an entire video of mental disorders, because at times you find that you might be going through a certain disorder, but you don't think it is a disorder. You think that it is just a normal character. And the first one I like to talk about is OCPD, which is obsessive compulsive personality disorder. Like, have you ever been with these people who are like excessively orderly? Like they usually try to be as perfect as possible. Like they have the extra type of perfectionist. Like, have you ever been with these people who just want everything to be perfect? Like they just want to follow the rules and make sure everything is perfect. And if you're not doing it the way they think by themselves that it is how it should be when something is perfect, like you're not in line with them, they can even get angry at you. Have you ever been with these people who have the extreme orderliness and extreme perfectionism? And most of the time they usually have low self-esteem. Like whenever they do something, let's say they're involved in something like maybe a competition or something, they usually have low self-esteem, and they keep on bringing some judgmental on themselves. They keep on making themselves feel low. Like whenever they do something and they're like, no, I haven't done enough, I could have done more than that, I know that is not me, I know that I could have done more than that. Like they usually just try judging themselves and bringing themselves down, and they just want everything to be perfect in life. Next is bipolar disorders. These are people who have like highs and lows, like things like mood swings. Like there's a time they're just so high, like they just want to talk non-stop, they are so energetic, they are talking like as if the world is ending, they have so many ideas, like they're just talking non-stop. They're talking about politics from one time, then they're talking about sports, the other time they're talking about, I don't know, like they're talking too much that they don't even sleep. And then there's this other time they look depressed, they aren't talking anymore, they look depressed, they're just so silent. It's like they're even scared, they're like going into depression. Like they have those highs and lows. So next we have anxiety disorders, and these are things that bring you like a feeling of anxiety and fearfulness, something like phobia. We have these people who have phobias, like whenever they're in a closed place they feel anxious. Whenever they're in a dark place they feel anxiety, and they have that feeling of fear. Whenever they're in a place that is so crowded they feel like they have fear. Whenever they're in a place that is a little bit higher they feel like they have the fear. Whenever, like, we have so many types of phobias depending on different people. Then you also have the panic attacks. Like we have these people who usually experience panic attacks, and they experience this thing of anxiety and fearfulness. Maybe if they're in a crowded places, maybe they've been told to do something like maybe give a speech, or have you ever seen these people whenever they're told like come in front of the class and give a vote of thanks, and they'll just feel like they're so fearful, and they can even like have tremors and faint. Yeah, such kind of attacks. Then also obsessive compulsive disorder usually brings anxiety, and also something like post-traumatic stress disorder. You know, PTSD, like so many people don't usually like know how to recognize it and treat it early. Because maybe let's say you got into something like a car accident. Have you ever noticed that there are these people, whenever they got into a car accident, like from that time onwards, they usually say that they'll never get into any vehicle in their lives, yeah, or they usually keep on waking up at night, they are roused at night, and then they are just screaming, like they keep on having, like they kind of usually comes and to their life, they re-experience it. Yeah, that is what I was looking for. They usually re-experience what happened to them. Let's say it is an accident. Every time they sleep, they re-experience that accident in their mind, and they'll wake up screaming. Yeah, so that is PTSD. And then we also have people who experience things like hallucinations. Like, have you ever been with people who, like, you're seated together, like you're only two of you, but they'll tell you, like, I've had someone touching me, like someone has just touched me. Or maybe if, like, maybe the lights go off, they'll say that I've seen someone standing by my bed, like I've just seen someone right now. Or I've had someone calling my name, like every time I usually hear that person calling my name, like they really hallucinate about stuff. Or they have things like delusions, like they have false perceptions about themselves. Like maybe they start saying, like, I know personally I'm the president of this like country, and he believes that he's the president of this country. Or having things like illusions, like even if you leave something like what do we call, like a certain rope on the floor, they'll come and say that they've seen a snake and they believe that is a snake. Yes, have things like hallucinations, delusions, and illusions. That is also a kind of having a mental disorder. And then we also have depression, and this is whereby you have a depressive mood, like you're not doing things normally. Things like your sleep pattern changes, like you might end up sleeping for a very little amount of hours, or you don't even want to sleep at all, or you sleep too much. And even your eating habits change. There are some people who end up eating a lot or eating a little when they experience things like loss of weight. Then you're like always feeling tired, and like there's so many things that have reduced. Like, you know, even when you go to work, or if you are a student and you go to class, you cannot focus anymore. You cannot bring yourself to think anymore. You're always feeling tired, you're always feeling hopeless, you're always feeling helpless, and these are just some of the signs that can be showing that you're going into depression. And then you also have personality disorders, like that those people are so paranoid. Have you ever seen these people that they just don't trust anyone? Like, let's say you're in town and you want to ask for direction, like, excuse me, unajua town ni wapi? And they'll be like, hey, don't come near me. Like, they're always ready to defend themselves. Yeah, they really lack like they don't trust people that much. Then you also have people like those who are narcissists. Like, I've ever been with a narcissist, especially things like I've ever dated a narcissist. Those people who just want to take over other people's lives. Like, they want to control other people. Like, if you're dating them and they say today you're not going out, today you're not going out. Like, they just want to take over your life. If they say that they're taking your phone, they're taking your phone. Like, those people just want to control other people's life, and narcissists. Then you also have people who are like those who are dependent. Like, have you ever been with somebody who is dependent? Like, they really just want to be taken care of by everyone. They have like a kind of clinging behavior. They just want to cling on people and being taken care of. Like, they don't want even to think for themselves. Those people are dependent. And then you also have the attention-seeking behavior. Like, you just have these people who want to be the center of attention, that whenever you're in a group and you're talking, they want to be the one to be listened to. Like, they want to be the one to be the center of attention. Yeah, the attention-seeking behavior. So we have so many personality disorders, and I think one day I just talk about personality disorders, because so many people, like a bigger percentage of people who have mental disorders usually have personality disorders, and these are some that people cannot know. Like, it is a disorder. Like being a narcissist, you can just think that you are a great person, yet you are having a mental disorder. Those people who just want to seek attention, those people who are just paranoid, you might just be thinking, that is my personality, but it is a personality, yes, but a kind of disorder. And most of these mental disorders just don't happen on adults alone, because sometimes people usually think that, oh, when you think of someone having a mental illness, maybe they're just stressed from work or something like that. People don't know that even children usually have like mental illness, and these are some of the ones which are usually mostly kind of, what do we say, ignored, because something like ADHD, which is attention, it is like the attention deficit disorder, whereby I've ever met these children who cannot like be attentive in class. Like whenever they're in class, they just want to distract other students, and they're just not like, they cannot just sit down in class like this and listen to a teacher for 1 hour. They just want to disturb other students, they just want to disturb the teacher, they want to throw papers onto other, like they cannot be able to keep attention, and they're not doing well in class. Like, I know you know this kind of kids, because most of the time people usually just say that that guy, her child like cannot focus in class, her child, I don't know, like people usually throw abuses, like trying to think that maybe that child is not clever, but yes, it is a disorder that the child has. And most of the time you find that these children, they're usually good at something else, because they might be good at something like sports, or maybe when it comes to singing, they can sing so well, but you're busy keeping them in class, and then they don't want these things, so they just start becoming like even violent. These are the kids who just beat other kids in class and the teacher is there. So most of the time, most of these like children disorders, they usually ignored, and one day I think I'll make a video of that, especially ADHD. Like it's usually there for most kids, but most people usually just think that's like that woman does not have clever kids, or her kids are stupid, and I don't know what. No, maybe someone is going through something, and it can be treatable. Like it is something that you can be taken to the hospital and given some kind of medication, and be taken through some kind of therapy, whereby your child can be taught on a way of trying to concentrate and trying to do something else. Like you just find something else that they're good at, so that at their free time they can do that, so that they don't feel like they're limited. Like in class, maybe they're not doing well, and then you're busy like beating her up and telling her names like there's nothing you're even doing in class, and they feel like there's nothing they're doing in their lives. They'll continue being worse. But if there's something that you can tell them, even if you're not doing well in class, at least you're a good singer, and then they feel motivated to even try and do something else like being good in class. Yeah, I think I'm supposed to talk about that someday. Yeah. So on this day where we're celebrating the mental health day, just make sure that you check on other people. Just know like what they are doing, like are they okay, because at times people are going through a lot, but they're just quiet unless you ask. Like some people, unless you ask, they'll never tell you they're going through something. Sometimes you just be curious and ask someone like, are you okay, what is going on? Or if you see someone like going through some of these symptoms and you feel like this person is not okay, you can as always refer them to like a therapist or a doctor. Let's just try and help each other, and let's try and teach each other, because I actually feel like our education is so overrated, and yet it's not helping us in any way. Because I think it should come to a point whereby we have people coming to like schools each and every time and teaching people about mental issues. I know this usually happens in some schools, but most especially not in all schools, especially colleges. Just come and teach people about mental disorders and how to be able to avoid going through some things. We have so many, like something like substance abuse, things like that. Like we should have people who are just there to talk to people and teach them about these things. And yeah, that is it for today, guys, and have a blast on this day, and happy mental health day. See you on my next video. Bye bye.